So in calculus, you're going to probably hear often, it's not the calculus that's difficult, it's the algebra that makes it a little bit more complex than what you're used to. So in calculus, we deal with some additional types of expressions that you're going to see right here. So we're going to start practicing working with those expressions, and then when we do the calculus, you'll have both skill sets, and hopefully you'll not feel as stressed or as apprehensive about doing the math. So here we have 3x squared plus x to the fourth all over 2x. We want to simplify by factoring. Now it's important that we go through that process of factoring, because when problems get very complex, it's going to be by factoring that you are going to be able to see what it is that you need to do. So many times in algebra to this point, we've been just using rules or shortcuts, and we haven't really been thinking about why that rule works, why that shortcut works. This is what allows us to simplify an expression like the one that we're seeing right here. So we've got this rational expression. We're going to factor. So our first step is going to be to factor. So step one, factor both the numerator and the denominator if you need to. So the denominator in this case doesn't need to be factored, but sometimes it's a little bit more complicated. So in the numerator, we've got an x squared that we can factor out, leaving us 3 plus x squared in parentheses. And now I've got factors instead of just terms. So in the numerator, I have two factors, and it's common factors that cancel out. So what's going to cancel out here is we've got, an x in the denominator. That's kind of weird. And then one of the x's from this x squared, which is going to leave me one left over. So we've got an answer of x times 3 plus x squared all over 2. And that is our simplified answer. Okay, let's try another. We've got the square root of x plus x to the 3 halves all over x. The square root of x is the same thing as x to the 1/2. So we want the forms of the exponents to be the same. So the square root of x is a variable with an exponent. Let's make it that exponent visually so that we can see what it is that's going to cancel. So now I can factor x to the 1/2 out from the numerator, and that's going to leave me 1 plus 3 halves minus 1/2 is 2 halves, which is a first power, all over x. And then we've got x to the 1/2 over x to the first power, and that's the same thing as 1 plus x in the numerator over x to the 1/2 in the denominator. So this cancels out, this cancels out here, and leaves you with an x to the 1/2. So let me go back here and show you. So here we had x squared over x, talking about this part right here, right, over 2x. So what we did was we did 2 minus 1, 2 minus 1, and that left us with a 1 right there, right, a 1 right there, good. Over here, we're doing x to the 1/2 over x to the first power. So 1/2 minus 2 halves, well, that's a negative 1/2. So I would have x to the negative 1/2 in the numerator. Well, we just put that into the denominator and made it positive 1/2, right? X to the positive 1/2. So hopefully you are good with that, and you're ready to move on to the next. 9x plus 2 raised to the negative 1/3 power plus 18 times 9x plus 2. Well, this is a first power, or if fractions are not as comfortable yet, we can make that 3/3. Same thing, first power 3/3. 9x plus 2 is going to factor out from both terms. and it's going to be the lower of the two exponents, which would be the negative 1/3. And then that's going to leave us a 1 because we're dividing that out. And then when we divide it out here, we're going to have 18 times 9x plus 2. 3/3 minus negative 1/3 is 4/3. So some of you might need to see that, so I'll do that in gray. 9x plus 2 to the negative 1/3. 9x plus 2 to the negative 1/3. 3/3 minus negative 1/3 gives us our 4/3. And the only thing we can do here, we can't distribute that 18 because of the 4/3 power, so the only thing we can do here is leave the positive exponent in the numerator and bring that 9x plus 2 down to the denominator, making it a positive 1/3. I know that you are going to want to do something with this and this, but you cannot. You cannot, because those are, this 18 times 9x plus 2 to the 4/3 is not a factor. It is now an addend. Okay, it's an addend, and you can't cancel out a factor and an addend. You have to cancel out factors with factors. Okay, so you've got two terms in the numerator, one term in the denominator. It would be no different than this. Can't do anything with that, right? Can't cancel out those x's because the 3 has a denominator of x at the same time. Same thing here. So that is our final answer. I'm going to box it. Let me box this answer over here. I don't think I boxed it. And we have 2 more that we'll come back in the next video and do. So you can see we're getting a little bit more complicated. I would try this one. I would try this one. See if you can try that one on your own, and we'll come back in the next video and do it.